So you have one last opportunity to, if you want to ask any question, or if you would like to make any comments or contribute some additional experiences from your own field dealing with digital storytelling and global citizenship.
I just would like to put forward a question to Joe Lambert. And how do you think in the next future will develop? Will be developing the digital storytelling, thanks to the also new social networks, and not only on the technological side, but also in the content, in the way.
You know, I think it's an important question for all of these projects. The distance between somebody who can walk into Windows Movie Maker and succeed in getting a story out that's essentially a slideshow is still the vast public of Europe and the rest of the world. The distance between that and what in the same school, right, is some kid who's already making movies on his iPad or his iPhone or his Droid, or, you know, who's able to shoot and record and do the whole thing just on a device like this, right? And get it on their Facebook page in 2 hours from beginning to end. So, I mean, part of the issue is that there's this enormous distance between what leads, you know, changing processes of communication, and this idea that, particularly in classroom settings or just community-based settings, that there aren't even computers. And it seems to me that part of the dialogue is how to figure out systems like, you know, where the advanced users are collaborating with the new users. I like the seed example of people exchanging knowledge, maybe because they've been privileged by their economic background, or because they're able-bodied and they're working with people because of the issues of disability, particularly learning disabilities that are challenges, that we see a lot more collaborations happening through informal as well as formal collaborations. I leave for Istanbul tonight, where we'll be doing the first workshop that's going to be completely on an iPhone. So all 15 people who are part of the workshop bring their iPhones, and we simply walk around the city of Istanbul making movies, so to speak. We'll use many of the same processes, and the way that we'll share it will be immediately up online at the end of the process. To me, it's been impossible to imagine that until this period of the last couple of years, where these things have suddenly gotten distributed so broadly that it's something to talk about. The only other thing I'll say is that I think the idea of transformation in this process and the training of facilitators who are capable of holding really complex emotional concerns in a group of people, I think there's a lot more training to do on the facilitative level. Because in many ways, our process is moving more and more to a form of therapeutic intervention. And as it moves in that direction, the expectation moves out of the classroom and into formal and informal settings where people are kind of talking about what's really going on for them. And so while I think these stories of subject matter that are right in the middle of the curriculum are very important, inevitably this form calls to people working out the issues of their lives, from one end to their life to the end of their life. And I think for all the facilitators, I know I'm speaking for Inez and Helena, is that you do this work a little bit, and you realize that in every room you walk in, you could be talking about garbage or whatever, but suddenly you're talking about somebody who lost somebody, or you're dealing with really tough stuff, and creating environments where we support each other as facilitators in conversations about how to hold space and to treat the process somewhat sacredly, without not ideologically orienting it toward one position or not, but to kind of take yourself that serious, I think that's the big next phase of this work. In Europe, this idea of implementing it across interests and disciplines is almost done. In many of these projects, where you'll be bumping into other digital storytellers, right, in the same places you're working. But I think this other level of treating it with a kind of degree of seriousness and compassion as a practice, that's a whole other level. And I will say our organization is rethinking all of our certificating methods to begin to look a little bit more like a public health process, where we're going to expect people to have done hundreds of hours of field work before we would call them a digital storytelling facilitator in the model of our work, which is to go anywhere and to do it anyway. So that would be a couple of comments.
Thank you, Joe. Any other question, comment? If not, I wish to thank you for having been with us today. I invite you to keep an eye on what we will be doing in the Rights Project, and look up on the web rightsproject.eu. You will be updated on things to come, and we would very much like to see you again when we organize our final conference, so we'll be able to tell you what happened during these 2 years and what kind of experiences we've had. And I'm sure by that time digital storytelling will have become very much more common, and we'll have lots of stories to tell. So, happy stories. Thank you.